Do you think this applies to multiple forms of media?
I think it applies to basically everything, especially the internet. The things that are supported or boosted or retweeted. Most of the accounts on the internet now, I have a theory, 90% of them are fake. I can't tell you what I know, Jack, but let me ask you a question. I'm going to ask questions. I'm a dummy who's just asking questions. If you're an intelligence agency, it's your primary objective to keep stability within your country, prevent terrorism, prevent extremism, and keep your country relatively stable. Would you agree?
Right.
Okay. So to do that, you try and push ideas in the education system and with the media, and culturally, you have your ideas that you want people to believe in. So you push them via your mechanisms, which are the schools, which are the newspapers, which are the TV, and you push these ideas out as much as possible so people adhere to them so that your country remains stable. Would you agree? So if somebody has ideas which are counter to these ideas, yes, they're a national security threat, but then also they could be a national security asset if they change some of their opinions, for example. Would you agree?
Yes.
So if you're an intelligence agency for a Western country and you identify somebody who's in this position, would it be appropriate to assign a handler or attempt to honeypot him or approach him with an offer or have people come and speak to him or explain to him why he's in the position he's in? Considering this is just one guy with all this influence, which is causing all these problems, don't you think a security apparatus would apply some form of human intelligence to this individual?
Right.
And then this individual would understand things about how the world works, which he was told from people who run the world. And he would know exactly what he can and can't say as to what's going to get him killed or not. They'd literally say to him, in this hypothetical.
Did you see my video about this?
No.
Tristan replied to it, and we had someone who trains intelligence on the podcast, and he walked through this scenario. He said, Jack, they would sit you down at a bar, and they would say, would you consider yourself a patriot? And then they would show you every piece of search history, everything you've ever watched.
I mean, you don't want anyone to get hurt if they misunderstand your ideas, right?
Right.
I mean, you're not a bad person, but you're saying things and some people don't quite understand them and they might take it to extreme, you know? In this hypothetical scenario, he was hypothetically approached by 4 or 5 different agencies. Let's say the Israelis tried. Let's say the British tried. Let's say the Americans have tried. And they've told him exactly what he can say and he can't say. And they explained that probably around 90% of the interaction you are currently seeing on the internet is fake. It's all bots. 90% of what you're reading on Twitter and the comments you're reading on streams and the Facebook accounts, all of it is bullshit. And it is narrative that is deliberately being shaped. This was first done during COVID. Do you remember when COVID first came and people would tweet out their symptoms? There were these stupid accounts who would say, oh my God, I have COVID and my throat is so bad. And then they wrote these little paragraphs and it got like 55,000 retweets. Do you remember this? Not many people remember this. Find them. And they were everywhere, convincing everyone to be afraid of this disease. That was all fake. That was the beginning of it. If they want, for example, me to definitely end up in jail, or for people to accept that I get shot in the head, or to get myself in trouble, or for me to lose cover from a nation that's decided to protect me because they believe I'm innocent. If they wanted me to get in trouble, what they would do in this hypothetical scenario is take a nightclub event and then bought the replies that I sold out to try and convince me, to psyop me into standing up and doing something stupid. Do you understand what I'm saying? And then people who read the comments, because they're sheep, they'll see everyone else calling me a sellout. So they'll be like, and they join in.
Right.
And before you know it, I've set myself on fire and I'm dead.
Our last podcast, you said, that's a good question 17 times, I think. And I posted a clip of it. And you know what all my comments are on my podcast now? Jack, you ask really good questions. Jack, you ask great questions. And I'm like, damn, that actually works.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Absolutely.